Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Gurren Otaku Council podcast. I'm your host, Ace, and a few of you may notice that I do not have my regular co-host McMillian with me today. Excuse me. But joining me instead is my friend Ryun. You can follow him on Instagram at RyanMore_, and that is Ryun with the U. And today we'll be doing a movie review of the Art Online Progressive Aria of a Starless Night movie. And as always, if you would like to be a part of the council and join us every week, then make sure to hit that subscribe button as well as follow our social media accounts so you could get all the updates on the council. And with that being said, the meeting is now in session. Let the meeting begin. So how you doing today, Ryan?
I like that intro. The council is in session. Like we
say that every time.
I mean, I'm in the academy.
You say that every time.
And I will continue to say it every time. I'm a guest here. Like, this is so lovely.
I'm done.
I'm doing good. Greetings to you, Jay, who is not here, and of course you guys as audience. But I'm doing pretty good.
That's good. So just to let everybody know, the reason McMillian is not here, it's not because he's away or anything, but it's just simply because he does not watch sword art. But that's okay, because me and my friend Ryan watch sword art, so we know we're gonna do this review ourselves. I'm not gonna let him stop us. But anyways,
you ain't gonna ruin our time.
Yeah, we're not gonna let him stop us. But excuse my dog in the background. He must be bad at something. But anyway, so we're just gonna get right into it. So the movie, did you enjoy it? Yes or no?
100% yes. Not only as a Sword Art Online fan, but as a fan of cinema and anime.
Okay. All right. Straight to the point. I like it. So for me, yes, I did enjoy the movie as well. It was pretty much exactly what I expected it to be. You know, just the beginning of Sword Art from Asuna's perspective. You know, they didn't lie about that. So, you know, they gave me what I wanted. And then they even did the things that I wanted them to do with this movie. But yeah, I enjoyed it. So going into some of the main things that I did like about the movie is, one, it wasn't just a copy and paste. And now I didn't expect it to be a copy and paste because, you know, we're supposed to be seeing it from her perspective, but it wasn't just a straight copy and paste. And they even changed up a few things. Now, whether some of the changes they made, whether they're good or bad, like for instance, okay, I guess I'll get to that later, but I'll get to some of the changes they made it. But yeah, I did like it. Right off the bat, you know, we see Asuna just going through life, going to school and stuff, and we meet her friend Mitsuya, which if I recall correctly, we have not met in the regular anime at all. Like, this was a totally new character.
I thought it was Mitsumi.
Misumi.
Yes, Misumi.
Thank you. Misumi. I was trying to remember her other name, which was Mito, her in-game name. But Misumi, thank you, Ryan, for correcting me. So yeah, I don't think we have met Misumi at all until the movie. So this was our first time meeting her, and her character. Her character was good. What did you think about Misumi overall as a character?
I thought it was interesting, and it was an interesting addition. The only thing, if I had to say it threw me off, was the fact that I've never seen this character, and y'all are introducing this character that's seemingly so valuable or significant in Asuna's life for me to not have met her. That threw me off. Honestly, I thought that they was going to make her friend like the blacksmith or the girl with the pet dragon or somebody else that we've seen in the series. But as a character, she was interesting. And before we get into the meat and the bones of everything, I feel like that scene where she abandoned Asuna was honestly pretty realistic. But overall,
yeah, I mean, 100%.
Overall, they did a good job of making me feel attached to that character. I like Misumi.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, as you said, we'll just go ahead and get to the meat and bones and everything. So for those of you who don't know, Sword Art Online is an anime where our main character, his name is Kirito, goes into this virtual game called SAO, you know, just like the title says. But once he gets there, the game master actually traps everybody inside the world, and they're no able to log out. And if they die in the game, they die in real life. It even goes as far as if they try to remove the headgear from them in real life, that the headgear will automatically send a signal to their brain and shock their brain and killing them. So the only way to get out the game was to beat the game. That's the plot of SAO. That's it. That's all. So we pick up, like I said, the movie picks up in Asana's when she's back in the real life and she's just going to school, and we get to see the different interactions between her and Misumi, which was nice as well. Because from the original anime, we didn't get a lot of that, like the real world elements inside of the anime. So it was definitely nice to get more of that inside of this movie. Like one thing that they really didn't mention inside the anime that they did touch upon in the movie was how the news when the game master had first trapped everybody inside the game, and he was telling how I don't think anybody will be taking off any more headgears because it's all splattered around the world and on the news and everything. He pulled up the screens and like showed the news and stuff like that. We didn't get that in the anime, so that was a nice new touch to add. Even if he even went as far as to he told us how many people had originally died from everybody trying to take off their headgear and stuff like that. So I thought that was a nice touch, and just revisited that whole scene, that whole initial beginning scene where they got trapped into the world. That was nice as well. That was well done. It really took me back to when I first started watching SAO when I was watching this movie, and that I guess that's the one thing I can really appreciate about this movie is the nostalgia I got from watching this movie.
I would have to agree. It was funny because SAO is one of those animes that I knew I would like when it first aired. I don't know if this is terribly accurate, but I remember I used to watch Toonami. My first time watching SAO was when it started on Toonami, when it first premiered on Toonami, and I believe Attack on Titan premiered that same night as well. And I saw the
Okay.
ads, characters stuck in a video game, and as a video game nerd who likes anime, I'm like, this is perfect. And watching that first episode, I definitely got the exact same vibe I got from the first movie, like death.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what happens to these characters? What's going to happen next? I felt all of that again, even though I've rewatched Sword Art Season 2, the Gun Gale spinoff, and Alicization each at least 3 times. It felt
All of them.
well, Season 2, original SAO, and the spinoff. Alicization I've only watched once. The other seasons I've watched all of those probably like 3 times.
Okay.
I rewatch anime all the time.
Okay, okay. Well, no, I don't think I've rewatched any of SAO yet, but it definitely might make me. After watching the movie, I might go back and rewatch the first season again. Because the first season of SAO was just so good, and every time I think about it, I'm just like, why did the creator not just stick with this original premise? Like SAO could have went down as one of the greats if he just would have stuck with that original premise. Like, cause
Well,
he had everything to work with, 100 floors. Each floor could have been different. You could have had different struggles on each floor. When we just and even know what, and then, but everybody would have been like, well, Ace, what about their bodies and stuff in the real world? They were actually degrading and stuff like that at the same time that was in the game. Yes, be that as it may, but he could have pulled the same stunt he pulled in season 3 Alicization where Kirito was stuck in that world, or basically how time moves different in their world and the real world. He could have did that same thing for season 1 of SAO. He could do
I
the exact same thing.
I mean, not even that. Like SAO is based on a light novel, so I'll give them the fact that there might have not been as much content. But if they planned ahead, like even on episode, the only reason I know it's like episode 7, I watched it with a friend recently. Episode 7, Kirito mentions 2 years have passed, and he was on floor like 70 something or 50 something. I cannot remember. Someone go back and watch it for me.
Yeah.
But they mentioned the fact that a lot of time has passed in game. They mentioned the level numbers. And for the fact that Sword Art, they literally could have done anything with each
Yeah.
level. They could have did one level an episode, 2 levels an episode, or just make it a nice seasonal anime similar to My Hero, or what's another seasonal anime that comes out now? Attack on Titan, how these newer animes do it now.
Mm-hmm.
However, they didn't go that route. They made the SAO portion of season 1 of the entire anime only like 12, 13 episodes
Yeah, about
long.
12 episodes. Which now that was, I guess that's what really upsets me even more is the fact that they didn't even give it a full season inside of the original SAO world. Like, okay, if give me a full season. After that, you want to move on, fine. But they only gave us, as you just said, a half a season, and then after that, they gave us, the Elf world, which is arguably, not as good as the first half
It's
at all.
and that's the funny thing. It's not even about like Outline. Like, don't get me wrong, I was definitely interested in the SAO world more, definitely. But even aside from that, like when I watched this movie, I was thinking to myself the entire time, Imagine if this movie was the pilot episode for Sword
Correct.
Art Online.
Yes.
Imagine if
Yes.
Sword Art, we never got anything Sword Art. All these new anime fans, all the anime fans who probably just started watching anime during the pandemic 3 to 5 years ago, they didn't grow up episodically with Naruto and Bleach and DBZ like the rest of us, but they started. No offense to them, but let's say that they recent. If this was the first episode, if this was the pilot to the Sword Art Online franchise, I promise you it will probably be just as big as Demon Slayer, some of these other popular animes,
No,
JJK and
100%. And
Tokyo.
then, I mean, as far as I've been seeing, the movie has been getting good reception as far as all the stuff I've been seeing.
Right.
I
And
haven't checked none of the credit and the Metascores or nothing yet, but I haven't heard a bad review yet.
I mean, like, here's the thing. Like Alex, like let's break it down. The movie did a good job of character development. Even though they could have
Correct.
showed us so many characters, they showed us 3 characters that we got attached to: Asuna,
Correct.
Misumi, and Kirito. And they showed enough Kirito to, even if you weren't a Sword Art Online fan, you get the gist of who he is and what type of person he is.
Mm-hmm.
We got that nice character build up. They didn't jump immediately into like the romantics between Asuna and Kirito, because it didn't happen immediately in the anime either. They stayed true to their characters. Everything felt accurate. We understood the conflict. We saw the huge climax. Like, as a movie overall, this was a great movie. But then
Correct.
throw on top of the fact that it's an anime with a solid foundation, it was just a great experience as an SAO fan. And if I had
Yeah.
to have an outer body experience of somebody who doesn't watch anime, if I was watching this and I like My Hero, I like Jujutsu Kaisen, I like Black Clover, I like Attack on Titan, all the current animes, I would like this too. I would definitely go watch this.
Yeah. Okay, but I agree 100%. But getting a little bit back to the movie though. So the movie covers episode 1 and episode 2 of season 1 of SAO. That's
Mm-hmm.
it. So in the first half of the movie / the very beginning of the movie, it was all new content. Well, technically, really the whole first half was really all new content. But then
Yeah.
the parts I really want to talk about though is when they first got to SAO, and then you just get to see how Asuna, because when we first get introduced to Asuna in the regular anime, she's already a seasoned fighter and everything. But when we watch this movie, we come to the realization that even though she played games a lot because of her friend Mito, Asuna wasn't a skilled fighter. She literally had to go through the struggles and sit here and learn how to fight. Her friend taught her how to play the game and how to fight and everything,
Mm-hmm.
which was something we did not get to see in the original anime because one, Kirito, he was a beta tester. So when he first came in, he already knew what was going on, and he was just he was just going. There was no downtime, no training period, or nothing. He was just on the move. He was just already going. So
Exactly.
that is one thing I definitely got to appreciate from the beginning of this, because it just shows you a different side of what all the struggles that everybody was dealing with. Because some people that how they mention this in anime, that they really didn't even leave the starter towns because they were too scared to even go out into the world because they did not want to die.
Exactly.
And then you have these other people, like for example, when Mito and Asuna was in the cave and they was just going through the dungeon looking for loot and stuff like that. They ran up on an inexperienced group and they ended up paying for it because they was too greedy. And then they got they set a booby trap off, and that was their lives. Nothing you could do about it. We're gone. Like there was so many different struggles that was going on inside of SAO that everybody had to deal with. And then not to mention the player killers that wasn't a part of this movie because that wasn't going on just
They
yet.
didn't
But
mention the PKers, did they?
yeah, because that wasn't a thing in the first 2 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but even the PK, the player killers, when that was a whole nother debacle. Like this just bring me back to my first topic. Like they could have just done so much with the original premise of SAO. It just saddens me that he went away from that. But anyways, so yes, that's definitely one thing I did like to see. You got to see how Asuna actually honed her skills and just became a seasoned fighter actually.
It also did a really good job at showing how much people hated the beaters, or even just and I like that they even paid homage to how the term was created. But
Mm-hmm.
I like that because in the original SAO, in terms of the beaters, we only see Kirito. We see about some of the other beta testers, but aside from
Mm-hmm.
him, they don't pay too much homage to the rest of them. They don't really give any of the rest of them any screen time. So in this,
Correct.
we see a girl who played SAO. We see how it affects other gamers for the fact that she already got experience for when she left Asuna basically to die. Well, she didn't leave her to die, but she was like, let me go get this rare item and attack this specific monster. We really get to see why the other characters are like, hey, y'all beta testers didn't help us. But then we also get to see how the beta testers are like, I'm sorry, but I'm trying to survive and live too, and I understand what would happen if I lag behind instead of trying to move forward. I like
Correct.
that inner conflict of the folks who are beta testers versus the folks who just got trapped in this game and they're casual players. I like that we was able to see that inner conflict even from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Because we see in the anime, I'm trying to focus on the movie. Kirito did the same thing. He dipped out. Episode 1, he
Yeah.
said, "I'm gone. I'm finna go fight some monsters. I'm finna make this money. I'm gone." And this
Yep.
girl did the exact same thing. She said, "Asuna, you come with me. We're not bringing nobody else. We're focusing on ourselves." I see the traps. Like you mentioned, we saw that one team that didn't know what was going on, a bunch of noobs, and she already knew. Hey, these monsters, we're gonna aggro them. We don't want to do that. Let's stay here and let's dip out. I'm
Correct.
sorry that they didn't know better. And I like
I
that
mean,
they
yeah.
show that inner conflict from the very jump of like how risky this world and like the emotional strain that it puts on everybody.
Correct. Because yeah, it definitely does. Put an emotional strain on you. Like you said, they did show that in a different because they showed it in a different light, which was
Mm-hmm.
what they set out to do with this movie, and they accomplished that. So we've been talking about this scene a lot, so let's just go ahead and talk about it. The scene where Mito basically left Asuna for dead.
Hmm.
Um, so this was new content. No, we never this was a new scene. We haven't seen it before. Um, Now I already knew something was gonna go down when it was first like getting into the new zone and stuff like that. And she was explaining how if you see this certain type of monster with the little with the fruit on the top of his head, don't
Mm-hmm.
kill that one because it's gonna set off a horde, and once the horde set off, we're gone. But the whole reason that they even got in that predicament was because Mito left to go kill this rare monster that only spawns rarely. How rare monsters and stuff spawn. So I ain't got to explain that to you if you're a gamer. You know what a rare monster is. But the reason why she did it though was because that rare monster actually dropped rare items for the type of weapon that Asuna had. If I'm not mistaken, it was the
The
what do you call those
rapier.
weapons? The rapiers. Thank you. There you go. You know your weapons.
I know, I
Here
know,
we
I know.
go.
I love fantasy now. I love fantasy now.
But she went to go see if she can get a rare rapier to drop because of course she wants to help out her friend Asuna. A less skilled player, more newer player to the game have a better chance at surviving. It's you have a better weapon, a better chance you have of surviving. Especially at early stage, you gamers already know the better gear you get earlier on, the better. The way it can easily help you get to the end game and stuff like that. Like I said, if you're a gamer, I don't have to explain this to you. Um, but just that whole scene in general, when she first set off the horde, and then she was just fighting all of them, also by herself. I was like, you know what? This reminds me of a later scene that in SAO when when Asuna and Kirito was just fighting, a whole mob of enemies and stuff like that. And I was like, this reminds me of that. But she was just solo handling all those monsters by herself, and I was like, you know what? That's why Asuna's a badass. I forgot how badass Asuna's
Mm-hmm.
was, but Asuna's a badass because Mito sit here and explains to us, we set off this horde, we're dead. But then Asuna basically takes out this whole horde single handedly by herself. So what do you think about that?
Um, I like that we were able to see Asuna's growth because for anybody who hasn't watched SAO, well, you're already watching spoilers. But in the anime, when you pretty much go from seeing Asuna as this girl who, the same scene where she meets Kirito with the bread scene in the movie, is where we pretty much get introduced to her in the actual anime. And then not
Correct.
too long after that, she's basically already fire. So I like that we saw her growth and we see her become Lightning Flash Asuna because she was destroying that horde. It was dope. The girl left her. She trusted her skills. And I like that what made her attack that monster wasn't because, oh, I just ignorantly didn't see it, or, oh my gosh, I just forgot all the plot that was introduced where Misumi told me about it. No, it was because I did a command and I've already charged my sword up and I basically lashed through them. It made sense. it wasn't just it didn't seem like it was a sloppy move on the producer's side to make that happen. Like the writers did a good job of that, and it felt
Hmm.
dangerous because I'm sitting here like Asuna can destroy them, right? She already destroyed the whole horde. Not when the horde is multiplied by 10.
Yeah.
And Misumi trying to come up to her. What happened? She misstepped on like some wood, and then it
So
fell down.
so she when the horde first set off, she was still up there with her, but then she fell, like she was at the edge of it. She got drove to the edge of a cliff and she fell down the edge of the
Mm-hmm.
cliff. And she tried to hop back up the cliff because there's like some boxes, like graveyard boxes or whatever, on the edge
Yeah,
of
it's
the
like those
cliff.
attached to like some caskets or
Yeah,
something
it was
almost.
like caskets or something. I think they were caskets. We're just gonna call them caskets, but it was some casket type, boxes that was attached to the cliff. And as she tried to jump up them, once she jumped on, it just completely gave away and she fell down. So she was like, "All right, well, I got to go up the hill." Proceeds to try to go up the hill. The horde is starting to come down the hill for her ass now. So like you thought you was finna get away, but now the horde came down the hill for her. So she can't even get back up to Asuna, sitting here struggling just to get back up to Asuna. She sees Asuna HP gets to basically almost get to zero, but at that point, Asuna was just now clearing out the rest of the horde. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't. Whoa, Sebastian. It's okay. It's okay. It wasn't. It wasn't until that point, after she clears out the horde, that they pull the surprise on us, and this big monster that just came out of nowhere and was basically going to end her life. And then you already know, old boy came and saved her, which was Kirito.
Mm-hmm.
And so apparently, which we didn't know, Kirito actually met Asuna before, and before at the point where we actually saw her in the anime. Now, I
Never
will
knew
say this:
that.
one thing I do not like about how they, I guess this is more of a nitpick. So, like, after this movie, I went back and watched it. So, in the scene where they're at the Coliseum and he goes up to Asuna, it's almost like he was talking to her like he didn't even know her at all, almost. So it was just kind of weird to me because, like, if you met her already before this, why are you acting like you didn't meet her already before? But I don't know. That was just, like I said, it could be a nitpick or I could just be interpreting it wrong, but that's just how it seemed to me when I went back and watched the episode.
But if you think about it, remember when they met? Like in that scene where he saved her, he was basically like helping like a player, like, hey, here's some potion, want to take it? She wasn't talking, she wasn't doing nothing.
As
She didn't add him as a friend or to her party at that moment. So for Kirito, you got to take into consideration. It was probably like a one time experience. Like Kirito was a solo player. He's known for like helping out people all the time. Like he always helps
correct,
out people. So like him
correct,
going to the Coliseum and being like, who are you? Like she remembers him, but this dude be soloing and going across a dungeon. He already had his nice sword, and in the anime you find out that's a rare sword. You don't see that in the movie, but he had already had it. You know what I'm saying? So it
correct.
makes sense, like that he didn't remember her. That probably was not too significant for him.
And but now that you even bring it up, and I'm sitting here thinking about it, if I'm recalling it correctly, after he saved her life, from that first encounter, and
Mm-hmm.
then when he met her again for the second time inside of that dungeon, that second dungeon they showed us, she
Mm-hmm.
had her hood on, and so he didn't know it was her. And so
Exactly.
exactly, I'm remembering now. And so when they went to the Coliseum, he didn't know it was Asuna because like I said, she had her hood on and everything.
Yeah.
And everything when it was at the dungeon and stuff, she still had it on. But
Yeah.
okay, yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. So actually, no, that makes sense
A-
now.
And one thing I do like about that scene, because if you remember from the anime, Austin was already standoffish. And the anime made it seem more so like, oh, I'm just a shy little girl. You know what I'm saying? I thought it was like the cliche female trope
Correct.
that you see in a lot of animes, like I'm just so shy and meek. When in real life, it's like, no, I was abandoned. I'm upset. My friend left me to die, even though I did
Yeah,
not die. And then they even explained that, which is I'm glad that the writers did that, where Kirito basically said, "Oh, you can see like names in the party, right?" Because she was like, "How you know my name?" She's like, "We're in a party. Move your eyes, not your head. Move your eyes." So she probably didn't even know that Misumi could see her health dropping. She didn't know about none of that.
yeah,
So I like that they kept the consistency of that, but I also like that we got a little bit of background even to just understand why Asuna was so standoffish in the anime, because baby
correct.
girl
Because yeah,
went through
like you
some
said,
trauma.
yeah, like you said, we didn't get none of that at all explained in anime. We just, you know, when she's first introduced us in the anime, she's just some girl, like you said, just standoffish, chilling, not really doing nothing. And even by the end of the episode, she just warms up to Kirito all of a sudden, and she's going with him on the journey. You know, that was it. That was all. We didn't know nothing else. She's here with us now. That's it.
Exactly.
But like you said, after watching the movie, we actually got to see that. Like you said, she was traumatized. You know, her best friend, not even just her friend, basically her best friend, left her to die. And you know what? Let's talk about that a little bit more. If you was in Mito's shoes, what would you have done? Would you have left the party early, or would you have stayed until the end? Because part of the reason why I feel like she did leave the party early was just for the fact that she did not want to see her friend's health bar hit 0 and have to go through that whole realization of that she just lost Asuna. But what would you do in that situation?
In my opinion, I would have waited to see it actually drop. And the only reason why, my life can be ironic, and it's like, let me actually see this all the way through. Secondly, I'm a gamer. Even though it sucks, let me go on and loot her. let me go on and loot her body.
You ain't shit.
Am I lying, Alex? Alex.
You making sense though, but you ain't shit.
Like, if I can battle through these monsters myself, let me go loot her body, see what gear and some money she had, and just to find out, oh my gosh, she actually survived. But from an emotional perspective, no, I get it. For her character, I get it. They went through the background of Mito's life and how she felt. I mean, Misumi's life and how she felt and everything. So I get it. But me personally, even though I didn't agree with the decision, it did make sense. Like, it was emotional.
Correct.
She tried. However, from Asuna's perspective, she's probably more so, dang, this girl left me for dead. And that's exactly how she was until she realized how the party stuff worked. Until Kirito said, hey, what type of person is Misumi? Do you really think she would do that?
Yeah.
And that kind of goes into my next thing, because I was talking to somebody else about the movie. They felt like Asuna forgave her a little too quickly. But I also feel like, not really. I feel like that was kind of true to character, especially due to the bond that they had.
Yeah, I mean, because especially like like you said before, you got to put yourself in Misumi's shoes. You just got to ask a question. Like I just asked you, what would you do in her situation? What would you do? Because at the point where, like I said, her health was about to hit 0. She still couldn't even get back up the hill because of all the monsters that was in her way. And then on top of that, Misumi herself was out of potions and low on health as well. So it was like, it wasn't in her mind. She was like, it ain't much I can do no ways. And she's about to die. So let me just go ahead and take myself out of the situation, so I don't have to watch and see her die, as well as so I don't die as well. Because she was also thinking at the same time, if one of us dies, it don't mean we both have to die.
Exactly.
But I feel you. Just we don't just because one of us died, don't mean both of us have to die. It's an unfortunate situation, especially on the fact that the whole situation was a fluke, really, and then the fact that she was trying to help her friend out by getting her a rare item when the whole BS even started happening. So it's just. It was a whole sad situation, and it would have been hella different if she in fact did not fall down that hill. That would have been fine. You know what I mean? Or maybe the writers would have played it differently, to where even if she didn't fall down the hill, that would have made it where she had to run somehow or something else, or maybe Asuna would have got circled and circled up or something, and Misumi couldn't get to her that way or something. It could have been multiple ways that she could have did it, but I think the way they chose to do it was perfectly fine though.
I agree. I agree.
But moving on from that, we talked about Misumi a lot. We can go and learn a little bit of her background. So Misumi was, a straight A student. She was at the top of her class. The only person below her, the person right below her was Asuna in grades. She obviously, she loved games from a young age, but she never really had anybody to play with, because they showed us a flashback where some of her friends was like, we don't want to play video games with you anymore because you're too good. You just always win. So she was always just playing by herself until Asuna came along. And then Asuna actually did stick around and was playing games with her. And that's why they formed that tight bond between each other, because Misumi finally found somebody that she could play games with. And so, they just, that's a little bit about her backstory. It's just, yeah, like I said, just that whole scene was just where her leaving her friend was just so sad. And then after that whole situation happens where she gets saved by Kirito, Asuna gets saved by Kirito. You see her go in her room and just go into a depression, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And like she said before in the anime and stuff like that as well, and same thing in the movies. Instead of letting the world be her, she decided to take her life back and keep pushing forward. Which takes a lot of internal courage to do as well, because after like that whole situation, that could have broke down anybody. And she could have just easily turned in one into the persons that, never left the hometown, the starter town, for fear of dying easily. But instead, she decided to keep pushing forward. So what do you think about her whole resolve to not let the world beat her and keep pushing forward?
Basically, I like that we got to see Asuna go from Asuna to Lightning Flash Asuna. Because the Asuna that I love from regular SAO, mind you, Asuna is my favorite character from SAO. She's a badass. Just being real. We saw her become a badass, and I like that she did choose that route. Because usually when people go through traumatic experiences like that, either they choose to force themselves to overcome it and hyper focus on something. Basically, her fighting all those monsters in the dungeon, knowing she was not resting and all that other stuff properly, or giving up and sulking. And I like the fact that she chose that route because in that video game world, I like that as a viewer, I got to see all the emotional choices and options that someone might take in this situation and experience, and it felt very realistic. And for anybody
Yeah.
who's watched SAO, it was true to Asuna's character. We saw her become basically Lightning Flash Asuna, who's a badass.
Yeah.
However, she did it very stupidly. She put her life in danger. She was definitely living life on the edge and very reckless. But psychologically, that's what people would normally do in a situation like that. Either that or be extremely depressed and sulking in their bedroom.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
I really like that even though it's a fantasy game and they could have focused on all the monsters and all the fights, they gave the emotional aspect and the relationships that the characters have with each other and their own mindsets and they gave you that character development as well. I really like that. I really like that we got to see more about Asuna, and that was probably the most pivotal part of her character development.
I agree. So, like everything we didn't talk about so far was basically the first half of the movie and also episode 1. So we're gonna move on to the second half now, which is episode 2 as well, which is really just the climax of the movie at this point. The final fight with the floor boss. Now, they showed off with this fight because they went back and they completely basically redid this whole fight from top to bottom. Like it's different. They went back. Of course, they upped the animations and the character designs on the minions. They even redid a different character design on the boss himself as well. Which I like. They didn't just leave it to how it was back in the original. They went back and they freshened it up. So I took that for I like that. As well as they even, like I said before, they changed up the whole fight basically. So like basically one of the pivotal moments where the leader of the group of the raid group at the time, I can't remember his name, but the leader of the raid group, when he died, they changed that whole scene up because like when the boss when he gets to his low health and he switches to his next stance and it starts doing his separate attacks, that paralyzed attack was completely new. Like the boss didn't do that paralyzed attack at the other anime. He just simply swung on the guy and just whooped him up.
Yeah.
But they showed off this little paralyzed attack and it just brought a new sense of danger to the boss fight because I was like, oh, when I first saw that, I was like, oh, this is new because he didn't do that the first time.
Mm-hmm. They kept it pretty true to the original fight, but they definitely added some stuff to make Misumi fit in properly, and I wasn't mad at it.
Correct. Yeah, because in the original, Misumi is nowhere to be found. So like, I don't know what was like how they, like you said, how they fitted her in was perfectly fine. It's just that the fact that there was no call back to her in the original anime at all that kind of upsets me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, the fights are just completely different, because of that one major fact really. Mito she's here, so we got to do the fight differently, and they did do the fight differently. And I will go as far as to say, this fight is probably better than the original. I'm gonna say it. I'm just gonna go and say it. The movie fight scene was better than the original anime scene. I said it.
Hmm. And I like that it still made sure it still added to the major outcomes. And I don't want to skip ahead, but that end scene where Kirito is like, "Yeah, I'm a beater. I'm one of those." Blah 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 blah. I walk off, and you see him going up those stairs, almost like, I had to do that. This sucks. But at least Asuna's
Yeah,
not going to get in trouble because Kirito's a good-hearted dude. Just to see
yeah,
Asuna run up and talk to him, I was like, huh, this makes sense as to why Kirito and Asuna maintained a bond in the rest of SAO. Like, the stuff they added, pretty spot on. It was pretty good. Even the part where Misumi's like looking at Asuna fight, it's like, hold on, a rapier? This person is so cold. Switch. It is Asuna. Like, I like that scene because Misumi still has her emotions. She's still upset. And even she's like sitting here starstruck, like, I thought you died. I
yeah.
abandoned you. Like, she had no idea how to react. And it took Asuna saying, it's okay, let's fight, or whatever she said to baby girl. I really enjoyed that fight. I enjoyed that scene. I enjoyed that even though the focus wasn't on Kirito, we also got enough screen time with Kirito to see why he's such a cold player.
I mean, yeah. I mean, like you said, this movie wasn't about Kirito, but he just got just the right amount of screen time
To where it makes a
that
little bit of
that
sense.
served him purpose. That it served him purpose. I mean, it made sense. And of course, he had to get screen time in the final climax because you can't do the climax without Kirito because he was a part of that, a major
Mm-hmm.
part of the original climax. So of course he was gonna get screen time on there. But yeah, just that whole final climax was so done well. And like I said in my past original movie reviews and stuff, for me, if don't know other part of the movie is good, your damn climax better be good.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's part of that the climax is what will save a movie for me. If after all I watched through this movie, even if all the main parts and stuff were boring, if you give me a good climax, I can say okay, this was a decent movie just because off the climax alone. For me personally, what are you doing, sir? Can you stop that? Thank you. But yeah, and so yeah, I mean, yeah, that was just in the movie. But one thing I will say, the whole scene where Kirito, he was giving his whole like, yeah, I'm a beater speech. Rewatching that scene right there is what made me go back and start rewatching the anime. That scene right there, because I knew it was gonna happen. And then once they showed it to me again, I was like, yeah, I'm finna go back and rewatch it. Say yo
Mm-hmm.
now, like yeah, like they got me. I'm finna go back and rewatch it. Say yo.
It sent chills down your back. Like, it really did. Cause like, you the viewer, you're sitting here like, wait, why is he doing this? Cause he's a nice dude and he's trying to stand up for Asuna and everybody. Cause Misumi was a beater. And there are a few other beaters, but the beaters did their best to help, but they gotta help themselves too. And like, the only thing that I think some viewers may get confused on is, which I think the anime did do a good job of showing, the movie did a good job of showing it why they got so upset with the beaters. But I did talk to somebody who was like, why did the beaters get upset? Like, honestly, like, no, not the beaters. Why did the regular players get upset at the beaters? Like, why did I don't get it. Like, they got the books. Why are they so mad? Well, and I was telling them, I was like, well, even though the beaters were beta testers, like that one fight, Kirito only knew what the boss was going to do with that sword because he fought other bosses as a beta
Use that
tester.
sword, correct?
And here's the thing. He can't it takes a lot to explain that mid fight and when folks' emotions are riled up. And I really like that the movie shed light on all of that. Like, I feel like if you watch this movie, the questions that someone like us who was watching SAO the series when it came out, who our questions probably wouldn't have gotten answered to like episode 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on, or even some of them never
Mm-hmm.
got answered. I like that the movie pretty much covered their entire basis. Like, who are the
Yeah.
beaters? Boom, you got it. Why is Asuna and Kirito important? Boom, you can pretty much guess that, yeah, they're the heroes of this story. Why is Kayuba doing what he's doing? Well, if you watch the series, you'll figure that out. But you pretty much can kind of get an idea. Like, the questions that the movie itself gave, though, like not just the series trying to keep. I'm trying not to talk about the series. I feel like the movie answered everything that the audience could have asked if they paid attention.
Yeah, 100%. And so if not mistaken, I did not stay until the end of the credit scenes. But if I heard that
Oh, you missed the end
the
credit
movie,
scene.
I did. Like I guess the after credit scenes, if you will. But I heard that it was confirmed that there will be another movie though. So what do you think about that? Do you think they're gonna, if they do another movie, do you think are they gonna continue from the perspective of Asuna's, or do you think, or Asuna, or do you think they're gonna switch it up a bit?
I think because they've pretty much made Asuna the main character, they should stick to her. My only thing is, as a fan, they didn't really announce how many movies there are going to be, did they?
Not that I know of.
My only thing as a fan, and probably even for newer fans who watch this movie, is, are y'all going to turn those first 12 episodes of SAO, the anime, into a movie franchise? Or are y'all finna make like 2-3 movies total and then revamp the series and give it the Hunter x Hunter treatment, the Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood treatment? That's what I want to know. I'm sure the movie's going to be good, but I want to know, what is this leading into?
Correct, because that was the same thing I was thinking when I was after I watched the movie. I was like, if this is like a call sign to saying like they're gonna redo SAO, I'm all for it. Because when we from first time we met each other, like I've been preaching that they should have just stuck with the regular premise of
At
SAO.
Least 50 episodes.
At least 50 episodes. That's just my main gripe about SAO, is that it was just so. The first half of it was just so rushed. It's good, but it's just rushed, and it's just like they just would have gave us a full season of that. I think I would have been less harsh on them, but because they gave us a half a season on it, it's just like, why would you do this to me? You show me this whole brand new world, and you just snatch it away from me.
Exactly.
Like, why would you do that to me?
And you show me all these characters, and each of these characters literally only get like one episode for me to get to know them, and they're actually pretty interesting. Like,
yeah. Like it just
extend
oh my gosh, SAO could have been so yes, like I said before, if this is the call sign that they're gonna redo the series, like you said, give it the Hunter x Hunter treatment, I'm all for it. Let's go. I mean, this is what I've been saying for years. Like, let's redo it. Let's start over. Let's do it properly, because now the writer, he got all his extra stories out the way. He or she, I don't know who the creator is. So I'm just gonna he or she. They did what they wanted to do. They got all their stories out the way. Now let's go back. Let's tell a different story. Let's explore more of the world of SAO, because even though you keep calling this Sword Art Online, we're not in SAO anymore. We was out of SAO in the first 12 episodes. Like, come on now. I just don't understand.
And my whole thing is, the premise, like, the world is beautiful. Like, did you watch like the Ordinal Scale movie? I think there were 2 other Sword Art Online movies.
So I'm glad you brought this up, because I think I may have seen one of them, but I can't remember. But definitely after watching this movie, I'm gonna go back and watch the other ones 100%.
So the one it was Sword Art Online Ordinal Scale, and if I remember correctly, instead of like them being in the full dive VR, they had AR and they had glasses. Or it was a special episode. I can remember that was a special. Sword Art also got special episodes if you go back and look at it on Crunchyroll. I can remember it was special episodes. It was that movie Ordinal Scale. But even just the real life world of SAO has some pretty interesting stuff going on, because basically they're a few years in the future, not too far. It's not like we're in the Halo aliens coming down to Earth days, but it's a few years in the future. VR and AR, everybody's really intertwined with technology. Even just the real life world of SAO is pretty dope. The game SAO is pretty cool. For anybody who's watching this, you're already pretty much accepting of spoilers. But even after SAO, like, that game ends and you see the creation of the egg, and you see all these other virtual reality game worlds get created, there was a lot that they could expand upon. A lot that they could have expanded upon.
Yeah.
And for the fact that they're so capable of doing it, yet they limited themselves to making SAO 12 episodes. And it's not just the world of SAO. It's not me and Alex are mad about the world of SAO. It's the fact that entire plot and story was condensed and rushed, even though we could tell that it could definitely be one full 25 episode season, let alone 2 or 3. That's what we're really upset about. Not that we left the world of SAO, but that fact that we didn't get a full story.
Like, they just, like you said, they didn't give us a full story, and it was just so much they could have done with that original premise. The first half of season 1, it was just so much they could have done with. I can't remember. I don't want to butcher the name that the world of SAO takes place in, so I'm not even gonna say it. But it starts with an A. but I'm not. I know what I know what it is, but I don't think it's. I got the right pronunciation in my head, so I'm just not even gonna say
Right.
it.
And
But
and you ever notice that not a single person who dislikes SAO ever says they dislike the premise? It's literally what we're saying now. They dislike the fact that it was rushed and they only got SAO for 12 episodes. Like I haven't
correct,
met anybody who says they hate SAO because of the premise or the background or the foundation or the characters. Literally just that. Just
yeah,
because they rushed it and we only got 12 episodes of what was a great story and a great plot.
I agree 100%. Then because like even like for instance, Sword Art Alicization, the plot wasn't necessarily all of that, but the animation alone carried the fuck out of that anime. Imagine the original SAO world with this animation. That shit would
And,
have been
and what's
crazy.
funny, to be honest, I feel like the original SAO animation is actually pretty solid. Like the sound effects
No,
on
it's
it,
pretty solid,
it's
but it wasn't season three
it wasn't
solid though.
Alicization.
It
And
was,
for look, audience, for anybody who watched Demon Slayer because of how great the animation is, watch Sword Art Alicization. It looks
yeah.
beautiful. Looks beautiful.
It looks beautiful. Like I said, the animation literally carries that whole first season
Mm.
of Alicization. Like, because that whole first season is really not all that. But now Under the War the Underworld, now that was actually good.
Well,
I'll
Underworld
get
was
them. That
good.
War the Underworld was lit.
Hmm.
But that first half though,
It
we don't talk. But we ain't gonna get too
it
deep
was
into it
solid.
though.
It
Yeah,
wasn't
we
like
could
the
do
best
another.
thing ever, but it was solid.
Yeah, we could do a separate episode on the broader SAO as in general, but we just stick to movie.
And
But
that the Gun Gale spinoff was so amazing, honestly and truly. The Gun Gale spinoff is
it
actually really good.
was really good. But like I said, we're not gonna get too deep into the broader world of that. We can do a separate episode on that. But before we end it, were there any dislikes that you had about the movie?
Honestly, I can't I can't think of anything I disliked. Now, I'm watching this movie as someone who's seen SAO, and I know that this is an introduction. I know this is an introduction. We're not finna see why Kayaba did this. We're not finna how'd I say? We're not finna see all the beaters and etc. and see how so much stuff got created, or we're not even gonna see the real like we kind of saw like an introduction to the formation of like the front lines and the people who are actually beating the levels, but we're not going to see
Mm,
all the guilds and everything form yet, which is really exciting later on in the series. But overall, as a movie, nothing that I dislike that I could just really point out as bad or could have been done way better. I feel like for them to have a pre-established premise, for them to have episodes and lore to already go off of, they did it justice. And even
yeah,
as
I
someone
agree.
who didn't watch SAO, if I've had to speak from their point of view, I think it was a solid movie if you paid attention and understood like all the little intricacies going on. I think it was good.
I agree. I agree. Like I don't really have any dislikes per se. Most of my stuff is really just nitpicks, and I already talked about them. Like how like how the climax, for instance, will in the original anime meets me is like really nowhere to be found. So they
Hmm.
really had to redo the whole climax just to fit her in. But other than that's not. I really wouldn't call that a dislike though. That's really just more of a nitpick in that aspect. But yeah. So all right. Well, what would you rate this movie? 0 out of 10.
I have to give it an 8. When I finished watching it, I immediately said this movie is an 8. It's definitely above average.
The rating right out of my mouth.
It's it's definitely way above average. It's not a high average like out of 6. It's definitely above average, but it's better than a 7. The plot, the art, the graphics, the emotional, the way they pulled on my heartstrings. I'm scared to give movies a 10. I'm scared to give anything a 10. I guess if it was slightly more funnier, slightly more darker, slightly more
Mm,
thriller, more intense, I could make it like a 9 or a 10. But it was an amazing movie. If you're not
yeah,
an anime fan, if you're not a Sword Art Online fan, I think you would enjoy this movie. If you are
one
a
hundred
Sword Art
percent.
Online fan, I think you would enjoy this movie. I think the only way you might not enjoy it is because you want to know what happens next. Like, are they going to make it a series or not? But that's just a gripe. But as an independent movie, it was amazing.
100%. And that's why I can give it an 8 as well. Because just like you said, if I'm looking at it from the perspective of a non-SAO watcher, like if I did not watch SAO and I came to watch this movie, would I have enjoyed it? 100%. Yes. Like like you said, this was a good movie. It was well put together. It came to tell a story, even though that the story that it came to tell was already told. The fact that they was able to do it from Asuna's perspective and put her side on it, that's what they came to do, and they accomplished that mission. So, I mean, I can't be mad with that. Like I said, I wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10 or even 9, but I can definitely give it a solid 8.
And even for them to introduce even as an SAO fan, they introduced a whole new character we saw nothing about, and I like her. I like Misumi.
Yeah.
I feel attached to her. I want to see how her story evolves. They did a great job.
Now, I should have mentioned this earlier, but the one thing I do like about Misumi's character / Mito's was that the fact her weapon was a scythe. Because I don't think we got to see, except for, I think maybe the only other scythe we may have saw in the anime was one of the PK killers. I think one of them had a scythe.
That Laughing Coffin Guild. And we saw that one girl who had the pet dragon and a dagger, but we never got an explanation about all the different weapons, nor even pets and mounts. Which, as like gamers, we're aware that stuff exists in MMOs.
Yeah, because that's one thing I do appreciate about Misumi's character as a whole, that she chose to use a scythe as a weapon, because I fuck with scythes. But if there isn't anything else left to say, I will say this, that we'll definitely have to come back and do another SAO special where we just talk about the SAO anime as a whole, from season 1 all the way to season 3, and just give our broader thoughts on SAO as a whole. But if you have not watched SAO yet, or even you have not watched this movie yet, give it a chance. Maybe the movie will actually make you want to watch SAO. Like I said, I know it makes me gonna go back and watch the series, probably season 1 over again. So definitely give it a chance. It's a good anime. I'm not saying it's the best thing out there, but it's definitely one of those feel good animes where you'll have a good time watching it, in my opinion.
Completely agree.
So with that being said, make sure to hit that subscribe button, as well as follow us on our social medias. You can find us on Twitter at Gurren Otakus, and you can find us on Instagram at Gurren Otaku Council. You can follow us on there, and make sure you'll be able to stay you'll be able to stay up to date on all the things that the council will be doing, as well as you'll stay up to date on when we'll be coming out with special episodes such as this. Once again, I want to thank Ryun for joining me today.
Of course.
Because McMillian did not want to join us. It's okay. Like I said, we're not going to let him stop us and have our shine. And when we do our next episode, I'm pretty sure it'll probably just be me and you again when we do our next SAO episode. So, I'll be glad to have you back for that episode as well. But, all right. Meeting is adjourned. See you later, everybody.